Hi, mutineers. Hi, Ryan. I'm just going to mute myself, but I just wanted to say hello before we get started.
Hey, Amy.
Hi, beautifuls. Sam, you look so delightful. Your hair is just lovely. Hi, Vic. I can't see your face, Vic, but I'm sure it looks beautiful too. Okay, let me share my screen. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, and you look amazing too, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I need to move some stuff around. This camera is just not ideal. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen when I do that?
Yes.
Now, can you see my presentation?
Ooh, yes, and I love that picture.
Oh, it's from so long ago. Let's just skip right over it. Those earrings are also lost, but another favorite, once favorite pair of earrings. Okay, friends, here we go. I'm going to pull this over here. And where's my zoomy bar? Hide this, hide that, turn this off, hide that, Skype, do not disturb, go away, Teams open, participants 3. Okay, so I think people are going to be able to come in whenever they want, and that's totally cool. I don't expect people for another little bit, but if y'all could man and woman the chat and just answer questions and that sort of thing too.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Will you just ping me to make sure it doesn't pop up over here? Perfect. retention, y'all.
Woo. They're gonna be all about it. They're gonna be so pumped.
So pumped. Everybody's pumped about retention.
So I enjoy, I don't want to jinx myself because I still have 7 minutes left on it, but I enjoy Fridays and Mondays because help desk is normally slower.
Yes. I'm gonna grab some water really quickly. Yeah, knock on some wood though, for real,
Yeah.
Sam. Oh, that's what it's gonna want to do. Okay.
Hey,
Hi,
Catherine.
Catherine.
Hi. I'm just making sure. Is this for Intelliboard? Okay.
It is.
I have Diego Fabra as the presenter, so
Oh, it's me. It's
Okay.
Amy.
that's totally fine. I just want to make sure I hadn't messed up something.
No, you did not. Diego is organizes all of our conferences. So you are also, his name is, he's not a stranger.
Oh, I'm just the host Zoom room, so I'll just start us and then get out of the way. Thanks. Sorry, I was a few minutes late. Kids eating breakfast and all of that.
No, you were just fine. Thank you for letting us be a part of this.
Catherine, I know nothing about kids eating breakfast and their drama. We fought this morning about oatmeal and
Oh, it's
yogurt.
actually, they're not the drama. It's that, yeah, they're not, they were fine.
we,
All right.
we had yogurt drama this morning.
No, it wasn't their fault. Apparently children need to be fed or something. I don't know.
And so many times every
So
day.
many times.
Catherine, where are you? Are you with
So
Carol?
I'm at Carroll College. I'm in Helena.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yes.
And so it's still early morning for you too.
Exactly. I'm very smoky. So it makes me cranky when it's smoky. So
Yeah.
I should get over it because this is our new reality. But usually fires don't really start until August, late July, August, and we've been in it for probably 2 weeks now. It hasn't been this smoky that whole time, but that's pretty bad now. But and where are you, Amy?
I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. So
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love Helena. It reminds me, the whole feel and culture and all of that is very similar to Asheville.
Mm,
And Helena's so good. And
it is. We're trying to keep it a secret.
Well, yeah, yes, as you should, because Asheville is no longer a secret, and that also really kind of bums me out.
Yeah. Everyone after the pandemic, Bozeman and Missoula just blew up, and so we're like, don't tell anyone about us.
It's terrible here.
In the middle. Yeah. And Samantha, where are you?
Michigan?
Michigan. All right, cool.
Yep. So pretty boring, but we're shaped like a mitten. So that's what we have going on.
Yeah. Cool. And all right, we'll give people a few more minutes. If there's anyone on the West Coast, it's really early.
We'll see who gets to slam caffeine at this time on the West
Oh, that
Coast.
reminds me. Thank you for, I have my French press sitting here all ready to go.
Oh, that is a good location right there. I need to get that set up.
Yeah. There we go. All right.
There was no opening session today, Catherine, right? It's just a roll into morning sessions this morning.
Right, correct. Yep. Yep. That is one time the schedule question has been asked of me and I knew the answer. I kind of got, yeah, hosting Zoom rooms. I found out last week I was doing it. So I've been like, what's the schedule? What's going on?
You mean knocking it out of the park? Heck yeah,
Oh,
with a
thanks.
week's notice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really too hard. I mean, but it's more that I have to be here in a good way, but like I have to be in the right place is more what I mean. All right, what time do we have? I want to make sure you, okay, give it one more minute.
Whew.
All right.
And Catherine, Vic's from our side too. So just know if you're looking at people, Vic, who's also in the room.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I will get started. Oh,
Yep.
what
That's
are
fine.
y'all ranging for attendees in? Oh, here's Rick. Hi, Rick.
You mean how many do we, how long do we wait until we have a certain number or what? Oh, you mean how many attendees total have been in the
Yeah.
conference? I don't know. I'd have to ask Ryan. I heard, but this was a total side conversation that I overheard, so I don't know how accurate it is. But I heard something like 150.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Hi, Rick. Hey, Keith.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
morning, Amy.
morning.
right. Well, we'll get started. I won't say too much because I'm just the host of the Zoom room. I'm Catherine Greiner. I'm a professor at Carroll College and signed up to help out here hosting Zoom rooms. And the 8 a.m. slot, at least Mountain Time. So thanks for being here, especially if you're on the West Coast. That's really impressive. So this is Intelliboard, and our presenter today is AmyPrice. So Amy, without further ado.
Yes, without a doubt. Hello, Rick, and hello, Keith. We are a small but mighty group this morning, so I want you all to feel very free to turn microphones on and we can have a bit of a conversation. So Rick, your name is super familiar, but Keith, will you tell us a little bit about you and where you are in your institution so I can pull in additional items if needed? And then Rick, you could say hello too.
Sure, I'm in Manitoba. My full-time gig is at a community college where I teach in the business department, but I also teach on a sessional basis, on a contract basis, and have for going on 2 decades at the local university, also in the business department. Both institutions use Moodle as the default.
Nice, nice. And so a 4-year and then a community college, yes?
That is correct, yes.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Amy, Rick Jividen. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
I'm with the Office of Wildland Fire, and for going on 3 years, we've been using Totara Learn. and have in the past used Teleboard, and so wanted to join the session today and see what's new with Intelliboard.
Sure. Well, there are a lot of new things coming, and if there's time at the end, I'll certainly do that too, to talk briefly about Intelliboard next. But today we are really talking about retention and how Intelliboard reports and the instructor dashboard can be leveraged to support retention efforts. So we will jump in. Our agenda today is to define retention, and by all means, y'all, we can have a conversation about this. This doesn't just need to be the Amy talk track, but the importance of retention, causes of low student retention, symptoms, and then specifically those reports and analytics. Prior to Intelliboard, I worked at a 4-year liberal arts college. We had a super high Pell eligibility rate. We had a super high first generation rate, and we were actually the most diverse private 4-year college, one of the most diverse 4-year private colleges in North Carolina. So I worked there with first-year students. A lot of the work there was related to persistence and retention and support of, and we know that it is a multifaceted conversation and it's super important. So the definition, so Seidman in 2012 defined retention as the length of time that students continue at a particular institution. So this is consistent enrollment, right, toward a graduation, toward a certification. So in community colleges or technical colleges, particularly in the United States, it's a little confusing, as their objective may be reached before you hit the graduation or completion with continuing ed, with a one-up, with a certification, et cetera. Multiple terms are typically interchanged with retention, but it's important to note that retention is truly the continuation of consistently through the graduation. Attrition is what we're talking about when we talk about a pause and then a re-enrollment. And persistence is the continuation of that student in their coursework. So I think that, we are all talking about this, even from a more governmental or a corporate entity, right? But we are seeing this specifically for community colleges and specifically for higher ed becoming more and more important. This is Malcolm Tight's work from 2019. Note, this is pre-pandemic. I can only imagine with the pandemic that this is increased importance with additional challenges because of the pandemic. Not to mention all of the things about upholding the social constructs and education and the promise of quality education and being decent human beings. This then continues into saving us money. The relationship between engagement is peanut butter and jelly, or moot coins to Mountain Moot. They go hand in hand. And it's not only the social engagement, the financial engagement, but also the academic engagement of the student. Wolf, Wendell, and Ward and Kinsey in 2019 suggested that it's two facets. It's not just one, right? It is reflecting the extent of which the student engages, the student reaches in, the student engages in those efforts, and then secondarily, the secondary engagement of the higher education institution to engage them. So it's a dual part, right? There is a component that is the responsibility of the student, and there's the component that's the responsibility of the institution of higher education. And I'll dare take it one step further on their work of that. Those both have to be proactive. We can no longer be complacent or give our students the opportunity to be complacent of this is just going to happen. So what this can look like from those various facets are social, academic, and personal, right? So McLaughlin-Brovosky, all the way back in 1988, started talking about the primary social cause for low retention to be the inability to create that niche community. So without a broader social connections, this is the sense of belonging that we're hearing so much about now, right? It is nothing new, right? It started back in 1988. The sense of belonging continues to be important. There's also a proportionately low retention on the higher year groups, according to Scott in 2005. This kind of flips what we hear sometimes on that first year, right? That first year is super important. Going into a sophomore success type program is super important. A strong orientation is super important. But Scott's work really talks to those students who are undecided or struggling within their chosen major, their chosen point of study. As those courses get more difficult, are they maintaining themselves? Are they continuing to be successful? Do they change majors and lose a bunch of credit hours and go, whoops, nope, not for me? These are things that we need to start seeing. So if the student enters an idea of what he or she wishes to study, but then discovers that's not attainable, that student may also become lost. This is also where I want to talk about the instructor engagement and this instructor immediacy, right? As faculty members, you all know that if a student has a relationship with you, if a student feels like they have care for you, the student is more likely to perform. If they don't feel, so the student state motivation, right, is what we're talking about here. If that student doesn't feel like that you are invested in them as a faculty member, they also can get lost. And this is where I feel like Intelliboard is super exciting and can provide a lot of support to instructors, specifically on making and identifying who some of the at-risk students are. And we may shift a little bit around. So Keith, again, you just holler with anything that you wish to see. And then personal lack of confidence, lack of support, lack of resources. Again, this financial aid component is really super huge, right? Needing to ensure that they have that wraparound care and that we are putting resources together. So the symptoms of retention, right? If we are going to look specifically for online learning, specifically for virtual learning during a pandemic, what are some symptoms of possible retention risk, right? To me, these become low attendance. They are not logging on, they are not accessing. They maybe are there, but they're not doing anything, right? We can talk about different reports for different things specifically for that. Lack of engagement. You may know, right? You may know that you can trip the system by logging in, right? I get myself rolled off one report. I, as a parent myself, watching a not yet college student, praise heavens, but a elementary school student learn how to navigate around certain apps that she was assigned. If our elementary students are doing it, if our own children are doing it, our college students are certainly doing it. This can also look like not completing assignments, overall poor academic performance. And then paired with what you hear, right, related to financial aid, related to the social sense of belonging, etc. As faculty members, this is where we can stay, though, with this low attendance, lack of engagement, what they're doing in our courses. You and your institutions with Intelliboard and your LMSs, particularly during the pandemic, and are sitting on a gold mine of data. So I want to shift us over, and we're going to go through a quick slides, and we can certainly share this, but this is the symptom paired with reports, analytics, and notifications to identify and then take action on those students. So low attendance. Access stats by user, login stats will show this. We also have a product called In Attendance and Contact, which we'll talk about too from an academic advising standpoint. And I'm going to go through and show you these in live time. So I'm going to kind of fly through these. Low engagement, right? This starts the conversation of who is there, but not doing the work that we expect them to do. We also have notifications that are more if then. So these conditional events. Learner has spent less than X time in course during this period of time. Send that student a notification. Conditional event, learner spends less time on an activity, right? So this is not necessarily at the course level, but this is really drilling down a step further into the activity level. They've spent less than X time. This is a warner. Let's go and send them a notification to see how we can help. All of this, importantly, is automated, right? So these are things that you can set up and forget and be the touch points of your students to say, hey, how can we support these efforts? Overall academic performance, there are going to be reports that you are going to narrow down and drill into your C's, D's, and F's. You can schedule that and set that up on a weekly basis. And again, some of those conditional events, learner falls below X grade, then send this notification. And those are immediate. So you can schedule it weekly, but you can also schedule it so that it happens. And as soon as it happens, you are notified. So different interventions before we jump over to the Intelliboard reports. Knowledge and awareness, right? Identifying who those students are, right? So we need to be able to quickly and easily identify those students. Then from there, we take early intervention. We are not waiting. This goes with the immediacy. This goes with the efficiency. Fostering a growth mindset. We've proactive advising, so appreciative advising, wraparound care advising. It has lots of different names, really stemming out of Bloom's work. Personalized, structured onboarding, which is going to be a pre-orientation program. This also can look like a first year seminar. This also looks like we've talked a lot with folks this year about moving some of those additional support resources online, right? And how do we structure that through instructional support and co-curricular activities? And what can that look like in our Moodle systems? So fostering a growth mindset here, this is where we are looking at OECD identified considerable global gaps in the growth mindset. This is from the Program of International Students. Snapshot below here, right over here on the screen, displays the students who disagreed with the statements, right? I disagree that I am not in control of, hold on, it's going to think a bit. This is where I am not in control. Happily, the OECD global average indicated with, sorry, all my animations, I got trying to get too fancy with them. The higher the percentage that is reflected, the greater the likelihood the student felt intelligence can be improved. So we are seeing that European countries are at or below 50%. This is clearly a global problem, right? Supporting that we are in control and can continue to learn, continue to strive, continue to struggle towards the end game. Proactive advising, this is where one of my personal bailiwicks, right? The care, the intervention, the academic appreciative advising. As having academic advisors, but also having a champion and a faculty member too really makes all the difference in the world. And the best thing to do here, right, is I feel like we've all had the experience where the student walks into our office and is like, everything's fine, totally fine. right? And having the data to then have conversations and compare. Listen, I can see that you're doing really, really well in this part of the course, this segment of the course, this theory of the course. What about it there is working? And the beauty of the Intelliboard reports is you know that, right? You know what's going well. You know where they're spending their time. You don't have to make that assumption because it's laid out for you. And I'll certainly show you that too in those reports. The structured onboarding, orientation, high school outreach, pre-college advising, right? The assessments for career counseling, assigned academic advisor, first year experience programs. Now we're starting to see secondary year, that sophomore experience, just as important. And then making sure that your policies are aligned to retention efforts. Academic mapping for progression in courses is also super important. And instructional support and co-curricular activities. Again, where can we shift some of these support and success tools online to our LMSs to be asynchronous support, right? How do I know as a student that I can, I used to be able to go to the Math Center on campus. I used to be able to drop into the Writing Center. I used to be able to do one-on-one tutoring. How can we leverage our LMS environments to set that up in a maybe live time, but also asynchronous? How do we set up tutoring workshops online? Perhaps if you do them in Zoom, you could also have Intelliboard reports on them. So at this point, I want to go ahead and escape and come into our Intelliboard account. I believe, yep, okay. Can y'all still see my screen? Did I transition okay? Okay, so friends, if you demo.intelliboard.net, you can jump into our Moodle site. You can follow along. I'm logged in as a manager. And because we've got some instructors here, I'm going to flip the script a little bit. I'll show you the bigger picture Intelliboard, but we're going to go ahead and jump in to the instructor dashboard, which lives within Moodle. The whole idea here is that we want to equip instructors with the ability to see their data right inside the Moodle environment, right? It's all in one place. This stems from a navigation bar. So this is our Moodle. It has a different theme. It looks a little different, but this is stemming from the navigation bar. It is the instructor dashboard. You can name it whatever you want. And you can also turn on and off these components. Just a little bit of a backstory from a setup perspective. The instructor dashboard is going to automatically populate with any course that is currently visible in the Moodle system that the individual has the teacher role. So you can map these in whatever you're using as a teacher role, a non-editing teacher role. If you're using a custom role, all of that will work. So here in my teacher demo, my teacher is teaching 20 courses, which feels a little crazy, but this is our demo site just to give us enough data to tool around in. And these are going to be your overview of visual representation of your course's data and your students. So again, this is only your courses, your students. I can see again that I'm looking at 19 of my 20 courses. If I select all, this pops up to my 20 courses. I can see that I have how many total students I have and how many total grades I have. You have a date filter up here so you can really narrow in on a particular time frame, but I really wanted to spend some time talking about these widgets down here. So I'm going to open this time frame way up just to give me some space. Perfect. So I'm looking at one particular course right now. we're particularly here in the activity utilization. So this gives me the ability as an instructor, and again, this isn't retention specifically, but it goes back to student engagement and being aware and having that data at your fingertips. So looking at one particular course, I'm able to see the total time spent by each assignment in those courses by all of my students, right? So to me, this becomes the conversation of verifying my expectations. I expect my students to be spending roughly this much time on this assignment or this much time on a particular quiz. Is that true, right? These things that I've designed, the resources that I've put in, right? The forums, are they spending the expected time there, or do I need to re-energize and re-engage specifically with those activities? More from a retention standpoint, if we look at the student grade progression, this is one of my absolute favorites, and I'm going to pull down here to Michelle Lucas. So, and we're going to continue playing in this Accounting 101 course. Keith, this is for you. I'm not sure if you teach accounting within the business department, but accounting was one of my personal struggle classes in my undergrad. So I feel particularly drawn to talk about it still. So accounting, Michelle Lucas, again, all of my courses, all of my students, this is a visual representation of their grades in the gradebook over time, right? So I start and I'm doing well, and I drop, but I pull it back up. I'm okay with Michelle. Michelle, you're hanging it, you're hanging, right? Michael, he's kind of hanging too. Okay, a quick click will tell you the snapshot of those students, right? Like, what the heck happened here, Sydney? Right? How can I support? Maybe I also know that Sydney is having a challenge at home at this time too. I know that I'm going to have a conversation. I have the conversation. We pull that grade back up. Again, giving you just the point click ability to say, who do I need to have the conversation with? Oh, Parker started really, really low and has totally turned it around. I'm going to send Parker a quick email to say, rock on with yourself. You're doing awesome, right? Again, the whole goal here is to visualize and make that data really easy to get to so you can take the very quick informed action to support those students. And again, creating that instructor-student relationship, being the proactive response to your students. The learner engagement, again, I'm going to look at accounting here. This is going to give you all of the activities across the course, but also tell you who's engaging in them where. This is not the best course to see the biggest story of this, but let me go to, oh, nope. We need to get some more data in these courses. HR, here we go. Okay, so this is the percent of students who are engaging with each of those activities, right? This again, to me, is the pulse check of where, Keith, I'm glad you're not an accounting instructor. We can be friends again. But for learner engagement, this is where my students are spending their time. Do I expect this flat line? No, that's a problem. I'm going to then pull back into those courses, right? Into those activities. Again, all of this is customizable. You can turn all these on and off. This is set up through the local plugin settings. This could be done in alignment with the Intelliboard subscription. And honestly, this courses tab is one of my very favorites because it, to me, streamlines and makes the Moodle gradebook or the Totro gradebook so much more simple. And it's giving you a snapshot of your courses and your students in your courses, and then you have the ability to drill in. So again, accounting, I'm going to look here, it's just here at the top. Obviously, I'm still hung up on it. I am able to see very quickly top level where your courses are, right? Top level and an average course grade. These are all the courses that I am teaching, right? Maybe I'm totally cool with the 76, right? Totally right where they need to be. This 42 is a problem to me, right? I want to know what the difference is in those courses. I can see my total visits and total time spent of all of my students. And I think this is the important place to note for Intelliboard. We add a layer to time tracking and visits and time spent to Moodle. You're probably aware that if I get up and walk away with my coffee cup to go get more coffee, which I kind of need right now, that I'm just going to stay logged in. I'm just, my access point is I'm logged in and I'm going to be there until I log out. What Intelliboard does is native to the plugin. Once it's enabled, we ping users every 30 seconds. It's totally on the back end. It's not an interruption. And we're looking for proof of engagement. And a proof of engagement to us can be a mouse click or a keystroke within the Moodle system. If you don't do that in 60 seconds is the default, but that can be turned off. We stop tracking your time. So you are getting a much more accurate read of time on those activities, on those courses. You're truly seeing when they are there and engaging to be able to have a more informed conversation. So this is total time spent and total visits, but what I love here too is the secondary columns, the average visits per student and average time spent per student. So this would be 42 minutes and 50 seconds. This would be 10 minutes and 25 seconds. Holy cow, right? In my leadership principles course, my students are only spending 10 minutes. Oh, that's the one that is both virtual and has a course, a more traditional classroom, right? So that is going to give you just, again, the quick level at your fingertips to understand your courses and take action on your courses. If I click in to learners, I'm going to then see all of my individual learners, their time spent, right? As still having that average so you can compare your students. Sam is a superstar and she spent way more time and she's doing great. And there's a correlation here between time spent and grade, or maybe there's not, right? But having that data for you visually is super important. Here's another example, right? From an academic appreciative advising. Jordan lands in my office and Jordan is worried about this 85, right? I can quickly, wouldn't it be so delightful if our students were worried about 85 sometimes? I can quickly come in and see what those grades are, right? Maybe Jamie, who has the 64, I also need to take a check and see what those grades are. I can see what those components are, what the student has been doing right at my fingertips. There's no assumption that is needed here anymore. I can click back. I can also look at the activities. So if I want to say, how did that first pretest go compared to exam 1? How did exam 2 compare to exam 3? What are my average grades? Do I expect them to tick up as the semester goes on, or do I expect them to tick down? What the heck happened on an accounting assignment for the week of May 14th with the average grade of 50? Do I need to come back and review that? Again, you have the ability to click into grades specifically here and see that information as well. Perfect, perfect. Any other questions here before we jump into more of the Intelliboard reports? Perfect.
Ooh,
So the-
sorry to jump in. What's the
No,
hierarchy on visibility look like from the educational director to a department lead to the individual educator?
Absolutely. Sabine, that's a great question. And it's perfect timing because we're going to pull over here. This is instructor dashboard. Again, this is only going to be your instructors, only going to be their courses. But within inside Intelliboard, you have permit, which is to me the golden ticket of giving the right data to the right people. So you can set up these, what we call sub accounts or IB user accounts, especially for the different layers, right? So a department head would be able to see all of those courses. The dean potentially sees the courses of all of the courses that dean oversees. So if you come into organizational roles, we'll talk about that in a second. That's the reports that you want to give to a particular person. But you come in here and you can see that Arena Stark is our dean. And I'm going to click on Arena's account and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to give Arena particular people. So typically what we see for assigning multiple courses, or you're going to assign a group of courses, or you are going to assign a category of courses. And those are going to be your native categories in the Moodle system of whatever hierarchy you have set up. So those will automatically pull over and you'll be able to identify, again, Sabine sees this group of courses and Stephen gets to see this group of courses. While I am here and while we are still focusing on retention, this is exactly where you also can leverage academic advisors. The custom user profile fields here becomes just so exciting because you can have any custom user profile field inside the Moodle system. They could be hid from students. They could sync up with your SIS. You then have the ability to assign the academic program to a particular person or a custom user profile field of the academic advisor. So I'm going to pick on Sam. If Sam here is the academic advisor for students and has a group of 100 students, Sam could only see, we could set it up so Sam could only see her 100 students and their data and reports. Does that help, Sabine? You can, anybody can totally unmute too. We can have
Yeah, thank you. The other question I had was regarding SIS integration. Does any of the data transport into SIS systems, and which ones are you integrated with today?
Perfect. That's a great question. Right now, we are integrated with Ellucian, Banner and Colleague. So that is with our Intelliboard Next platform, which I'll talk about a little bit at the end and where we are headed. Right now, you can pull in that data through Moodle. So like whatever is in Moodle from your SIS, you would be able to then add to a report. All of the reports can be exported. You can set up an SFTP. So also you could push data back into the SIS information as long as you had the ability to pick it up from a folder. For the permit, and then I'll show you that, Sabine, too, for how you can personalize and add that information in. But just wanted to give you one of our use cases from one of our clients. We also have people who are using custom user profile fields to identify TRIO programs. So if you are a TRIO student, you are flagged with a TRIO custom user profile field. That custom user profile field is mapped to the TRIO program. We also have folks who are leveraging cohorts as early college programs, right? So again, thinking through how do you leverage the organization inside Moodle to map with Intelliboard to equip your different components on campus with the data sets to take early action on their students. I'm going to jump back over here to our homepage, and there's so much here, and we'd love to do a conversation with you one-on-one about other data needs, but I really want to focus on the retention efforts today with our last 10-ish minutes. So I'm going to jump into reports. All users by learner role, learner success and progress. This is one of my favorite reports for an academic advisor. You have the ability to select all of your courses. Gone are the day that you have to do this one course at a time from the Moodle system, right? You come in here, you select all of your courses, or a section of your courses. I'm the academic advisor, and this is 1 or 2 or 3 of the reports that I have. I come in here and I choose all my courses to pick up all my students, and I take from here and I look at my C's, D's, and F's, and I click OK. I have a quick report of all of my students who currently have C's, D's, or F's. I can sort this, right? And I can see that Alex has 3 low risk or lower grades, making him high risk. For example, I can see over here, Philemon over here only has 1 as a C+ in 1 course. I am less worried about this C+ in French than I am over here with Don, who has all D's. As an academic advisor, I can quickly prioritize who I need to be having conversations with. The best thing about this report and all of the reports to me is I also can schedule these. I can also export them, and again, and this is where you would set up that export or set it up to dump into an SFTP folder, but I can schedule these. So I can get this report to me every Monday morning at 7 a.m. I can do a quick export, I can sort, I can say, and make my action plan and tick them off right in my Excel spreadsheet. You can make different variations of these reports to go to different people. The name of the game is automating it for you. Again, another true user story. So it's the beginning of the semester, right? I am a registrar. I am in financial aid. I am looking to make sure that all of my students who are registered for their courses are inside their courses. Make sure that we haven't had anybody fall through the gaps. Make sure that we don't have to drop any schedules. If they're not in there, and I know that right from the beginning, how do I call on them to make sure that we are all squared away? I think that we all have the experiences of that hidden curriculum of like, oh, I thought I dropped that course, but I really didn't. But you really can't drop that course because you're going to drop below those full-time hours for financial aid and retention. So these two reports pair really well with one another: inactive users in course and inactive users in system. The system is that they haven't logged into the system at all, right? Amy is a problem child and she is supposed to be in her courses, and you are looking at those courses and Amy's not in those at all. Who's been inactive 1 day, 3 days, 5 days in a given time period? So this is at the start of a semester. The same is true with courses. This is that they haven't accessed those courses. They haven't accessed those courses. I want to pull in, right, and see who hasn't accessed those courses and then be able to take action. From there, from a student support conversation and retention and persistence, is looking at one of our activity reports. It's going to be under activity submission progress. We've worked closely with the North Carolina Community College System to develop this specifically for financial aid. And Hart, I see your questions and I'll come right back to you. And this is going to be that you need to prove that students have done an assignment for their financial aid, right? The census reporting is what the North Carolina Community College has named it. I'm just going to go ahead and reset my report real quick. And select all. Oh, this is going to be a bunch of data with all. This is going to show me the students and when they have last submitted an activity type. Typically what we're seeing is it's an assignment, a quiz, a forum, right? Those are going to be the engaging activities, but you can drill down to a particular type of activity to narrow just to see those.
Yay. That is
Perfect.
awesome. You both are on the same page, Hart.
Perfect. Yep, you can drill down into those particular assignments. We're having tons of best practice conversations about naming an activity across multiple courses, right? So institutionally, you only have to search for one thing. So you are able to do that here. Again, these are for your registrars. These are for your financial aid. These are for making sure not only they have logged into the system, they've logged into the course, and they are submitting assignments, right? And each of these reports can also be pushed over to that instructor dashboard that we were looking at to equip your instructors with the ability to do the same thing for their students. Oh, I just spent a couple hours with all of our financial aid folks doing this manually. Let's start talking about the goosebumps and how we can automate it, because there's the whole idea is that we are saving time to get people back their time to do the things that they love, like teach, like care for students, like turn these incredible young people, if it's a 4-year, or incredible people who are going back to a community college, and let them learn, right? Like that's my bailiwick, is that we get trapped in doing the mundane work that we have to do to check the boxes, but how do we let things like Intelliboard make that easier for you? Hart, your question about how do you train advisors to deal with instructor grading idiosyncrasies is a great one. And I think that it's super important from an academic standpoint, right? And I think that that goes into appreciative advising and knowing and being curious about asking those questions too. And I hope that there would be like that cross collaboration between an academic advising and departmental chairs. But that's to me where the conversation with the student becomes, hey, can you tell me about this course, right? Can you tell me about what's going on in the course? It's also super important that we're having conversations with everybody about data literacy, right? Like, let's make sure that we have, it is wild, wild west grading lots of places, but making sure that we are aware as the person using the report to question what they're seeing, right? And equipping them to go in and do a little more digging into maybe a course content utilization report. So again, this is one of my favorites, because it's that next and question, right? Like it's not just the grade. It's not just what, and that's a starting point for sure, right? And when I am doing top layer, if I see 5 Fs across the board and it's all 5 different instructors, then that's a red flag for me regardless. But a more nuanced case, I'm going to drill down into the data a little bit more. I'm going to look at one particular course, and I'm going to look specifically at Thomas only.
Thomas was not going to class. That's
Yes, our Thomas. So I'm just going to look at American history. Let's see if Thomas is, oh, Thomas isn't in American history. Let's find who's in American history. Jake is in American history. right? This becomes the nuance, right? This becomes, I see that Jake has a C, right? And I want to go in and see where he is spending his time and the visits and what he has or has not done. Keith, thank you. Time on task would probably be more helpful, and you're going to get that here, and you're going to get that in a bunch of your different reports too. So you could come into course content utilization and see their time spent. Again, this would be 34 seconds, like holy heck, you're only spending 34 seconds on a quiz, problem, right? But there's several reports that are going to give you the total time spent on course as well as time spent on activity.
And can needs grading reports be automated to advisors as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Sam, thank you for picking it up. So under course reports, we have course grades, we have needs grading, instructors hold on, faculty members hold onto your hats. This also can be on the instructor dashboard, right? I'm going to go head over here and I'm going to go to all time. I don't have a ton of things that need to be graded right now, but this is going to, and let me just do this. We have a lot of folks in here using the demo site. This is going to show you everything that needs to be graded, and absolutely could also be shared with an academic advisor, right? So, but from an instructor point of view, when we start talking about instructor immediacy, which we have a whole nother webinar on instructor immediacy and reports to support that, you can find that on our website. Sam, if you'll throw the events page in there, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But if I click on this, I can go directly to I can go directly to the activity. I'm not logged in as the right person on my Moodle to go there, but on your Moodle site, if you were an instructor and you were using this report and you clicked view, it'd pull you directly to that activity to grade. Friends, so needs grading reveals who has submitted work. Yes, Hart, it does. It's who submitted work and who still needs to be graded. There are also reports that are going to show you the total submissions so that you can look at everything that has been submitted regardless of whether or not it is being graded. And y'all, we are up on time. And so I really thank you for your time today. Please let us know how we can assist you in your efforts. It's good to see some familiar faces. Hey Lang with us today. Sam and Vic and I are all able to send and spend more time specific to your institutions, specific to your needs. And I'm going to throw my email in the chat right now. And you'll have a wonderful, wonderful Mountain Moot. Hopefully next year we'll all be able to be together again. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, Hart.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Vic. All right. Nice meeting you all. Take care. I'm going to end the meeting now.
It's nice meeting you too.
All right. Take
Thanks,
care.
Catherine.
No problem.